Your grandmother was the one who encouraged you to bake your first cake, and as I understand, it was from a box cake mix. Do you remember what type or flavor the cake was and what that experience was like?
First of all, don't have first gonna make me cry.
Oh,
And second of all, well, no, in a good way, like
okay.
tears of joy
I
because
was like,
you did a
interview
good bit.
over. Okay. Welcome back to Sprung on Food, an interview-based show where the overall topic of conversation is food. I'm your host, Kae Sprung. This season, I'm talking to food content creators, and my next guest is Kareem Queeman, also known as Mr. Bake. Let's get into the show. Kareem, also known as Mr. Bake, is an award-winning pastry chef, owner of Mr. Bake Sweets, and a public speaker. He fell in love with baked goods at a young age and later led to working in some of the top bakeries throughout New York City and the DMV. After losing his mother in 2017, it became Kareem's mission to represent Black and queer bakers on a national scale. He's appeared on Netflix, Food Network, The Today Show, the 2018 winner of Bake It Like Buddy, and is a 2023 James Beard Foundation Award semifinalist for Outstanding Pastry Chef and Baker. Kareem, Mr. Bake, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am very excited that you are here. Your energy is infectious, so I already know that we're going to have an excellent time. I know that you are originally from New York City and now you're in the
Whoop,
DMV
whoop.
area. Who has the
Yes.
better food scene? I know, is that blasphemy?
Oh, oh, okay, okay. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of people would like me to say that it's not New York, but it's still New York.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna hold you. It's New York. It's the melting pot of different cuisines, different levels from your fine dining to your mom and pop corner shop. You can
It's
you can
got
get
it's
whatever you
got
want.
everything. Well, I'm in New York City, so I take no offense to that. Sorry to other folks, but you're, but I I wasn't sure honestly how you would answer because I was recently in DC. Also, I would like to share because I'm not embarrassed anymore, but only up until maybe a year ago when I started hearing peers and friends say DMV, I thought they were talking about the Department of Motor Vehicles. Is that only me or does that like happen to other people? It's DC, Maryland, Virginia, like region. But like I had no idea.
No. Okay, okay, okay. To be 100%. So I've been here for a long time. I did the same
Okay.
thing though. When I first moved here, it was like the D&D, and I
And
was
you're
like,
like,
"What?"
please, no, I don't want to drive right now.
What?
Like,
I was like, yeah, I don't want to sit in that long line. You think of the terror of going to the D&D. You're just like, oh, I don't want to do that. And they're like, no, Kareem, that means Maryland, DC, and Virginia. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. And then it became cute to me, and I was like, oh, that's cute.
do you have any places if you come back and visit New York that are must stop shops for you?
Oh my God. Oh yes. So my top one is my first apprenticeship bakery I worked at, which is in Washington Heights. It's called Carrot Top Pastry.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, so I just go there just for nostalgic purposes. When they make a really good strawberry shortcake and a good carrot cake, but I really go there for the strawberry shortcake. So that's a must for me all the time. That is like the calorie must have, right? Oh, it is. It is. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I would say I do a lot of mom
Hmm.
and pop shops. So another space that I go to is a neighborhood diner called
Okay.
Texas Star. It's in Harlem, Sugar Hill, literally on between 148th and 147th and St. Nicholas Avenue, right when you get out the train station. And they have a window and they have like a bar scene. That is it. Obviously, through COVID, that has changed, but it used to be packed in there. And, they have that one burner and they just throwing everything on that skillet, that top, and there's pancakes being made and burgers and things. So that's probably my second go-to spot always, especially when I bring friends from out of town. I'm like, this is the place that we're eating breakfast at firsthand, and then we can go to all of the other stuff downtown.
I love that. Nostalgia kicks it off and that sets the ranking from there, which I think
Yes.
just totally makes sense, which I think also ties in excellently to your whole brand and you know things that you bake, it all maps back to nostalgia, right? Because I think that that's one of the biggest tie-ins with food and memory to people, and what makes
Yes,
them
yes,
gravitate to certain things, and how they remember certain
yep,
things, and if they start or smelling something, and then that sparks a memory. So it's super
yes.
powerful. So I can appreciate that. Speaking of nostalgia, your grandmother was the one who encouraged you to bake your first cake, and as I understand, it was from a box cake mix. Do you remember what type or flavor the cake was and what that experience was like?
First of all, don't have first gonna make me cry. And
Oh,
second of all, well, no, in a good way, like
okay.
tears of joy,
I
because
was like,
we've been
interview over. Okay.
no, 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 no. Tears of joy, tears of joy. I'm still in New York at the end of
Yeah.
the day, all right? So it's still tough. I'm still a little bit tough. So yeah, my first cake, I believe it was Pillsbury yellow cake recipe, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called, yellow mix or whatever. And it was chocolate frosting,
Mm.
still Pillsbury. I actually have a rectangular nine by no, a little bit bigger than 9 by 13 pan that I first used. I still have that pan.
Really?
It's locked up in storage, but I still have that pan. I don't use it anymore, but it's just something to hold memories. So it was
Wow.
my first cake I ever baked. And so I lived in a New York City apartment where the restaurant, the oven was a little janky. So half one side of the oven didn't heat up as high as the other side. So it was, this is where rotating your
Mhm.
hand really came into play. And I didn't know that. Obviously, I'm what, 10 years old. I just
Yes.
wanted to eat a cake. And that's what I come to find out. So the cake was lopsided when it baked. Oh, girl, that didn't matter. I put frosting all over that thing, and I ate that cake all the way up. Do you hear me? So that was
I do.
so that was my first
Because at
cake.
the end of the day, it is still a
It
cake.
was, and I was excited. I felt accomplished because it was. I wanted to make my own cake. My mother didn't bake. My grandmother baked. You had one family, one or two families that were known to bake like one or two great things, and we didn't bake a lot in our family. So whatever they did make, they made that one thing really good.
Yes.
And then my aunt was the one later on to experiment with new things, but they were known for one thing. So I just felt accomplished to do that because now I'm like, I can make my own cakes now. I don't have to worry about nobody else.
Yes.
So that's
Yes, you have that cake autonomy now. It's incredible. Your your childhood friend is actually the one who gave you, correct me if I'm wrong, the name Mr. Bake when you baked him a cake for their birthday. If they didn't dub you as Mr. Bake, what name would you go by?
OMG, I don't know. And shout out to Jerome.
Jerome.
We're still friends to this day, really
Uh,
good friends. I do not know what I would be called. And I'm so thankful for him, honestly,
does he
because
get
it
royalties? Jerome, don't listen. No, I'm just kidding.
listen, he's still my friend. I think
It's
that's
priceless.
a gift
Yes.
in itself.
Yes.
Okay. But no, it just worked. I mean, I don't know what I would have been called. Honestly, I've never
Mm.
thought about it because I'm gonna tell you this. I actually politely fought against it when he
Oh,
first started. Okay, so backstory, I'm telling you my business. Backstory, I actually liked him when we first met.
ooh la la.
So we met when we were in our like later teens going into well, he's a little older than me, so he was already in his 20s, like early 20s, and I was in my later teens. And that's when we met, and I was attracted to him. But he quickly curved me into friendship zone, which is fine. I'm thankful for his friendship
Yeah.
all these years.
That's why there are no
And
royalties. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So I think that, and then he just named me Mr. Bake, but then he shortened it and called me Bake. So I
Ah,
think that's what made me like it more because it became more hip, cool. You know, you felt like you were down. So everybody introduced me to on his side of his network was always, this is my friend Bake. This is my friend Bake. People didn't know my real name for years. So that it just kind of stuck. That's really how it went. And like I said, fought against it for some months. And I think when he shortened it, so it doesn't feel like I'm such an older man, I think I've grown to like it after that.
yeah. Well, and now it feels mature and regal, I think, maybe,
Yeah,
right? Yes, so you've grown into I mean, it would have been, I think, a lot funnier and really freaking cute if you got this name when you were, like 6 years old or
Mm.
something, and you were, like, this precocious little 6-year-old walking around, "I'm Mr. Big," but I think it's a really great name. It's
Thank you.
so easy to remember, it's to the point, you understand what you're doing. If you were a carpenter, I would be confused, but, like, this it really makes perfect sense. So I love it. Don't even think about changing it. It's fitting. It's great. But I had to ask because curiosity got the better of me.
No, thank you, honey. I can't change it, honey. I trademarked
Yeah,
this
you're
name.
like,
It's
if I have to
mine.
re-register and do a whole LLC, like that's a whole no, no, no. Let's keep it and eliminate the stress, please.
Exactly, exactly.
One of your missions is to represent Black and queer bakers. Tell me about that work and the importance of representation in the food space.
Yeah. So, can I give you a little backstory? I know you mentioned it in my bio, and it was something that was birthed into me when I was going through one of the most, to this date, most difficult times in my life, which was before my mother passed. She fought for her life for 7 months. A lot of people know. So I have never been that depressed or low in my life. As you're receiving my energy for the first time through video, in audio, you can tell like you're jovial. That's my energy always and always has been that kind of, I've always been that kind of person. And so through that, before my mom got sick, I actually was already applying to do TV competition. And what happened was, like life happens, things happen to you when you least expect them, right? So my mom just passed, and guess what? A month later, I get casted for my first show. And yeah, so honestly, I tell that part, and I wanted to bring that up because actually, when I got casted, I backed out from the show, obviously through depression, the heaviness. Have you ever done a show? It's a lot of work leading up to getting casted. And then once you're casted for the show, it's a lot of work once you get on the set. And then when it's just work. It's just work. The work never stops. Like once they say yes, it just never stops. It feels like you're doing a job that you're really not getting paid for. Honest, to be very honest with everybody who's never done it before, it's really a job. It took on another job. And I say this because I'm so grateful that I actually did the competition, because through the competition, outside of me winning the competition, my first ever one, I realized, one, I love television, and then two, that there was nobody that looked like me in media, in mainstream food media. When you were talking about Black men who bake, and then we talk about queer folks of color in the food industry, I didn't see any representation. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make that my business. And I say that because that helped me through the depression of losing my mom. That gave me something more to live for. So it's important because, one, it gave me another breath under my wings to keep flying and keep believing in myself. It allowed the work that I needed to do on myself to show up authentically for the people that I'm speaking of, that I want to see in these spaces. And then the importance of the work is because we're not a monolith. You know what I mean? We see a lot of, one type of Black person face. If it's a female, male, or non-identifying, whichever, but a person, we normally always see the same type of person. And I'm like, there's so many different nuances and stories to each and every one of us as human beings, and why not have our story be told? I know what it is growing up. I watched Emeril Lagasse, so I'm into the band, into the cooking in front of people and entertaining. I think I didn't even know that that was a thing that I was gravitating toward, and that I would later on be mesmerized by. You know what I mean? So imagine if there's a young version, a queer version of me, saying, "Oh, I'm looking at Kareem on TV or watching his social media now, because now we have social media, and oh my God, I can do what Kareem is doing. I can be a Kareem." But then also looking at a lot of Black men who historically has had difficulties living full lives, and then we add the extra layer of being queer, you know what I mean? So a lot of people from my background and my age range, generation, I should say, are still kind of on that down low, private, nobody needs to know, because they're still not fully loving themselves. So not only am I talking about being okay with telling your food story in the food space, but I'm also telling people it's okay to love yourself fully in every space you occupy. That's what's so important.
It's beautiful. And is this the topic primarily that you focus on when you do public speaking as well?
So yes, the topic I normally speak on is I speak to a lot of Black and Brown children in the inner city youth in the inner city area. So I always speak about believing in oneself. I always tell my authentic story about being Black, being gay, being afraid, things like that. So yes, that is the kind of points that I always hit out because I always want to. My public speaking is motivating and inspiring.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it. I mean, honestly, just listening to you, your words just resonate, and then that extra layer is all of the immense passion that you have behind it, and I think that that's really what propels a poignant and important message and allows people to want to receive that. And so I think you're doing it,
Yeah.
Kareem.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes you know how it is, sometimes you feel that when you in it, you like, am I really doing it?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Am I really making the impact? Because that's really what I want. You know what I mean? Everybody may not be famous, but we all can be great, and greatness is through acts of service, as Martin Luther King
Hmm.
Jr. said. So to me, it's about how can I just continuously to show up and show up for my community and people who just need an uplift. You don't have to look like me. You don't have to be a male. You don't have to be queer. We all have been low. We've all felt afraid. You know what I mean? So that's an emotion we all share as a human being. And that's really what I'm tackling on, that we are all human beings living you know what I mean? We're all spiritual beings living a human experience. So yeah.
That was perfectly said. And in that same vein, on Instagram, you have a reoccurring feature called Black Man in Baking and Pastry. Did that sort of
Yeah.
stem from that as well? And why was it important for you to share that on your socials?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That stemmed from just my plight of creating space for people that look like me, right? And I did it on my social because you know what? We don't always need a blowhorn to create a ripple effect of change. Think about that penny you drop into an ocean or into that fountain, and it creates that ripple effect. That's it. That one penny you drop can create a mountain full of effect, and that's what I was doing. I was really just highlighting Black men in baking who normally don't get highlighted on a national scale. So I was like, you know what? I have this platform, I have this following. I want to celebrate and uplift people, my brothers. Honestly, that's literally what it was, and I want the world to see the greatness that is that.
I think that's so beautiful, honestly, and it comes from such a pure place. And I think that there's nothing
Yeah,
nothing more attractive than something that is from a pure and authentic place and that you're passionate about. So it's incredible.
thank you,
You had
thank you.
touched on the food competition shows, so I definitely want to talk a bit about that. You've competed on a number of them. Oh my, is that the general a feeling of doing it? Okay.
Yes.
For since this is also an audio podcast, Kareem was doing kind of like shaky hands with like a swiveling head of just what would you what was
I
that,
don't
like
know. I don't know that
stress? Was that
actor.
like craziness? Like what, how do we describe that? Excited?
It's the Do you know the meme? Do you
Oh,
know the meme of the actor? He's a white guy. He's a little thick, and he's a comedian actor though. But he works in sitcom, and he does like it's a
oh,
meme. He's like, I don't know how to explain it.
okay.
Dad, but anyway, it's the frantic waving hand, scared, giving ay 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 ay. What's going on? Why did I sign up for this type situation? For those who need a visual.
That is the perfect alt text right there, if I've ever heard it. The I. Okay, perfect. So what got you started in competing in these shows? What was the motivation?
Crazy. I'm crazy, girl.
Okay.
Nah,
End of
like
story.
many of us. No, so like with life, right? If you aren't doing this, I employ anybody to do this. Challenge yourself. Life is a series of moments collectively put together to say what kind of life you have. And I'm always challenging myself. I feel like stepping into entrepreneurship is a huge
Mm.
challenge itself. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do food TV. and I'm going to do these competitions because I like these. The spring baking championship that had just started out on Food Network. And I was like, oh, I can do that. I believe in myself as a baker. I'm going to do that. So I set out to do that. And a lot of people ask, especially the kids, how did you start that? And I go, I Googled it. I said, you use your phone for everything and you don't use your phone for the things you need to. I Googled it. How do I get on Food Network shows? How do I get on X, Y, and Z? And Google sent me a bunch down a rabbit hole. It sent me to production companies, and you sign up on, the production companies' mailing list and stuff. So you get all the shout outs and then you apply, and that's just literally how it went. It took 2 years to get a show, to get casted on a show though.
Is that right? So,
it's never really, it took 2 years for me to get casted. I was almost all the time I needed up to like the last or like around the round 1 or round 2 of cut. And I always got cut. I never quite made it on a show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now that you say that, I understand what you're saying now. There was interest, and then they do have, for people who aren't familiar, I've been on a couple, and then I have auditioned for a few that I was not cast on, and you do go through depending on how far you get along in the casting process, but you do go through at least a couple rounds of video or phone call interviews or whatnot, and then you don't hear anything for a while, and then they'll say, oh, we went in a different direction, or like whatever, and you're just like, okay. After the show, I'm not trying to start any controversies, but after the shows that you had auditioned for and maybe wanted them, or maybe was just like, oh, I don't really care either way, did you end up watching them afterwards to be like, who did they cast?
I did. So the Spring Baking Championship one, I did watch that episode, and I was like, "Who do they cast?" And honestly, can we be very frank? We watch these shows. They try to season the bag up and have at least the representation sprinkled all over. So honestly, I looked at who was the black person cast, who was the black person cast, or who was the person who seems to be on the queer side who was cast. So they may not verbally say they're queer, but as another queer identifying person, sometimes you can kind of pick up on the nuances and characteristics of a particular person to know that they might be in a community or not. So that's what I did to kind of see where it was and things like that. And I asked questions. I asked producers like, what was it? Things like that. And it was trying to be nice. And that's what we were lined down to. It was either one or the other. And as I come to find out later on in my career, it really does become one or the other, unfortunately. It's like, oh, we can't have two of you. And I'm like, why can't you? We're both skilled, talented, and give you personality, because at the end of the day, you're looking to make money. So the ratings is where you make money. Why wouldn't you want two high energy, strong people up there to give your viewers really good content to watch?
You should start your own casting agency, maybe. Or is that not what you want to do? Maybe TBD. Because right, like I think that every approach is going to be different, and I can only imagine there are so many chains and branches and red tape and whatnot and decision makers, and it's not just one person, of course, but on the outside, that mentality just makes so much sense that it's like, why would anybody question that? And why is nobody like, why does the other way work? Like, you know what I mean? So
then, and then I come in and I'm like a bulldozer and I question the status quo. I do. So Food Network executive reached out. They had picked up a show. They have an agent casting company reach out and say, you should reach out to Kareem. We've worked with him in the past, and I obviously must like the work that I put out. And I emailed them back, the people, and said, I would interview because it sounded like it was a good show because it wasn't a competition show. So I was like, I'll do the interview. I said, but also tell Food Network executives, thank you for thinking of me. But the next time they're looking to cast their first person, a male baker, as a judge or a host, he reached out to me. Their first person of color who's queer reached out to me, who's openly queer, not anybody who decides to not openly live their lives. You can live your life the way that you choose to. I'm speaking to people because we have young folks now who are coming out as identified as queer as early as 12 and 13, and they need to see representation in spaces. So anyway, needless to say, back to the original story, I was the one who was bulldozing that. And I was like, yo, when they're ready to do this, holla at me too, because you don't have this. You have no representation of this. But every time y'all call me, I get casting companies reach out to me in my DM, like, do you have people that, that will be interested in the show? And I know what they mean. They want Black people to interested in the show because they know who my demographic is. They can tell by just the my Instagram page, who I hang out with, who are mainly in my photos, my characteristics. You can really tell that I am culturally and I'm very pro-Black and very queer, So both of those things you can tell. So they go, oh, we want more Black and more Black people in, to be casted because they're not showing up. And they're not showing up because they don't see themselves in higher ranking levels outside of just being, I like to call the circus act sometimes. You are animals running around an unknown kitchen trying to figure out how to make stuff happen. So even say me, you were in a competition, we're competing against each other, and say you're more skillful in this particular round, I can still outbeat you because your nerves are killing you. Because their nerves are killing you.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Well, I mean, so what you said is just such an excellent point. So, because I think that's the whole thing too, and why some people opt, some people might be exquisite in their field and absolute pros and create the most innovative, delicious things you've ever tasted. And maybe some people say, why don't you do it? You should compete. And I'm assuming probably the first reason why they don't want to do it is because they will not perform well like that under pressure. Like in that capacity, it's different if you're in a kitchen or if you have your own studio and you're doing these things in your own safe space. But when you have cameras all around you, lights and timers, especially too, that are real-time timers. So yeah, I know. So a lot of times people will ask or think, for some of these different shows, like, oh, post-production, whatever. But it's like, yes, there's editing, but the thing that's like not edited is the time stops when it stops. Like you have 20 minutes in this round, go. And they're not like, okay, let's take lunch and then we'll come back. Like, no, it's 20 minutes and you're just like blacking out and just doing like, I mean, at least I do. I'm like, I don't know. I wake up and I'm like, I don't know what just happened.
Girl, I forgot sugar. I forgot sugar in the cake one episode.
You forgot sugar in a cake?
Girl, I forgot sugar in the
cake. How did it come out?
Luckily, I did a cake that I already knew how to do. So I knew what it looked like, what it tastes like. So when I was looking at it, and I did thin layers, because you don't know if you're making, because it was a cake competition. Bake your cake in thin layers so they cook fast and they cool down fast. Don't do no thick 2-layer, 3-inch, 4. Anyway, long story short. I thought it was bumpy, and I was like, "Why is it doing that?" So then, you know what you do? You run your mise en place in you run your recipe in your head, and you go, "Okay, I did boom, boom, boom," and I go, oh, "I forgot." I said, "I fucking forgot." Oh, I mouthed it because I'm on camera, and I'm like, "I forgot." So then I played it off like, "I forgot sugar," la 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 la, and had to redo the entire cake over. But luckily, obviously, like I said, I'm a pro at that. And it was something I'm already used to doing. So I just whipped it back up. And mind you, at the end of the episode, Ron Ben Israel was one of the judges who was an idol of mine. And he said it was a perfect chocolate cake. My hands were thrown up. I was excited. I said, I don't give an F who wins. To hear that is what I came here for.
And it's such a moment of redemption too after that first, and the fact that, I mean, honestly, it couldn't have played out any better. I think it's like a very humanizing thing that it happened, and it also, I'm sure they loved it for television, that happened. But then also the fact that you were able to recoup, had the time to do it, and executed it to perfection to get that kind of compliment, to like it could, right? Like it couldn't. You gave him gold, Kareem.
Yes,
you gave him gold.
Yeah. Can I tell you what it was? It was one of them. This is, it was such a really great moment because we taped this show in Canada during COVID. So we still were under COVID. We still was under COVID protocols in Canada, which was 10 days lockdown when you entered into the country before leaving. And literally the next day we filmed for 16 hours this whole episode.
Oh, boy.
And to hear that was great. And then to watch the judges The other thing that took me away was the judges threw their plates on the, after they took a bite, they threw their plates on the table. And it was like, oh, Kareem. And I was like, oh my God, like you really are pouring into me. Like, thank you so much. Because basically it was saying like, that
Okay.
chocolate cake is so good that they made them throw. You know how something's so good, you put the plate down or the fork
Yes.
down and you look at the person who cooked the
Yes.
food and you go, what did you do here? You ask them questions and you go,
It's so good that it makes you angry in a way. Yes, yes. Okay, now I'm understanding.
yeah,
Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, were they putting you on? Now I'm confused.
no,
Okay,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that
I had to
that's a
do like
good
a
thing.
suspension. I had to do those suspension for you.
You accomplished that. I started to sweat. Okay. Yeah, I mean that couldn't have gone any better when you're entering these different shows. What are you feeling? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you also thinking in the back of your mind with all of the work that you do to create a space for representation? Does that also play into how you show up on these shows?
Oh, that's a really, really, really great question. So, yes, it's important for me to always show up as authentic as I comfortably can. As I started to grow, so I did at one point, because I'm gonna tell you about a specific show I did, which was a docu series, and they were in my home. They was getting into like, why did I get into baking? They followed me around, and we did like some baking for local things that so I had like wholesale orders and at the shop where when I had one, so we would do their follow up. Anyway, I got nervous and actually overwhelmed during that process. And I say that because even though I know it's important for me to show up my authentic self, honestly, I still was nervous on how I was going to be received by people in my community. Honestly, I was looking at like, are they going to think that I'm being too gay? Or am I doing this for TV? Or, are people going to rally behind me to want to watch, me on TV and stuff like
Mm.
that? And I had to get out of my own way and realize that I was doing something that's bigger than me. And then actually, I received a lot of great feedback once the episode and stuff was aired because when I even watched it, I was like, oh, I was so in my head and I really was just being myself. Like, if you ever really get to know me and watch any of the shows, that's Kareem on like a level 10, but it's still a version of Kareem, And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't feel bad about that. And just to add another part, you asked how do I feel going into these competitions? Any televised show, any public speaking agreement,
Mhm.
I tell the kids all the time, I'm always nervous. That never goes away. I just know I have a really good poker face. So I know how to wear it well. And what I do is I turn those nerves. This chemical reaction happens in me where I either turn those nerves and I flip them, and then they just become this jovial, high energy person. Like, let's just have a really good time because I'm knowing I can get over this. I always say my alter ego pops up, and I think that's the Mr. Bake. The Mr. Bake comes on, and he's like, "Hello, everybody," and he's the host and the madame. How can I help you? And make sure you get some champagne and enjoy yourselves. And thanks for coming. Type situation.
It's the Sasha Fierce to the Beyonce. Because I mean, yeah,
Exactly.
I totally get
Exactly.
that, and it's always so lovely to hear that too, because I think that it's just another layer of who we authentically are, but it's one that we are presenting in that moment in time. I at my core am very introverted, and so if people meet me and they hear that or I tell them that, like frankly, they're like, "No, you are not. Like you like being in front of camera, like you like hosting stuff, like or speaking in public." I'm like, no, no, it's fine. I can speak in front of 10,000 people and I haven't done that yet, but I could. And I would be okay. Yes, I would still get nerves because I think that the nerves are a normal human feeling and it's partially too. It's the excitement, it's the anticipation,
Yeah.
it's the pressure you put upon yourself as well, but it all exists. But it's still an exciting
Yeah.
thing to do and still within my comfort level. But if you were to stick me into a
Absolutely.
room of like
Yeah.
50 people for like a networking event and just dropped me off and was like, now go mingle. I'm looking for the closest exit. Like that it sounds
awful to me. I cannot do it. I get in my head and I'm like, nobody here wants to talk to me. Like, what do I even talk about to
Got
these people? Like,
you.
this is so weird. I don't know them and get me out of here. So hearing you say that though is so reaffirming that this is such a common thing for a lot of people. They may feel it in a different way, they may present it in a different way, but layers are allowed in
Yes.
humans. And just because somebody sees one version of you does not mean that it's not real or authentic, or
Yes.
that you're like that all
Yes.
the time, you know?
All the time. Yeah. It's the all the time for me. Because they think they're always going to get the Kareem they get on TV. And I'm like, I'm in my house.
Yeah.
I'm relaxed. I had a couple of drinks. Like,
Totally.
I'm chilling. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not, I'm not doing that right now because I just finished doing that. And it's a lot, and it's a lot of energy you give out. Like, even when we finish this, I'm gonna have to take a break for myself because
Yeah, we'll be depleted for a minute. Yeah, I know. We need to recharge our batteries. I'll be like sweating it out and just, yeah. No, I 100% understand what you're talking about.
and I just dropped this gym.
Yes,
It's
please.
so
Gems are
important.
welcome at any time. Please
Thank you.
sprinkle, drop them, catapult them, whatever
Okay.
you like. Yeah.
It's just so important to make sure you take care of your
Mm,
well-being. You cannot, like, people, we always try to clean someone else's house before our house is clean. Please take care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty
mm,
vessel. That's just it. We can't pour from an empty vessel. And if you're always drained because you're giving out, it is okay to be self-full.
mm.
Okay, so don't think of it as selfish, but think of it as self-full. How else are you planning on giving to people if you have nothing to give from?
So beautifully put. And I have to give a little bit of a shout out to every airline out there as well, because they've been preaching that for years with the put your mask on yourself before helping others. You know what I mean? Like airlines, they didn't know that they were the original influencers, but but what you said is so absolutely true, and puts it in more of a real life perspective as opposed to, an emergency on a plane. But it's absolutely true.
Yeah,
If you have an award-winning banana pudding, I am a huge banana pudding lover. I love all things banana.
yeah,
You got to make it on Miss Kelly Clarkson herself's
yeah.
show. I have not had the privilege of trying this banana pudding yet. So will you please describe it to me so that I can live vicariously through this
Ah,
description?
yes. So picture this: 1965. Nah, it,
I was ready. I was ready for the ride.
okay, think about it's literally like eating pillows of
Okay.
marshmallows and clouds. It is like soft served
Oh.
ice cream because the custard is a vanilla based custard. It's an egg. Obviously, it's your standard way of making your custard. So eggs and cream. I use half and half, and I use half and half so I can get that rich fat from the cream, but then also nice ability from the whole milk. And go ahead and whisk that, put an egg, let that cool down overnight. Add some sweetener, which is sweet condensed milk. Add a little sugar during the
Ah,
custard making part. But what really the magic
yes,
is,
please, because that's a
yeah.
really
So I'm gonna tell
interesting
you why I
tip.
do that.
Yeah.
So originally, okay, let me go back. All right, so the original
Yes.
recipe
Uh-huh.
of this was instant Jello mix, milk,
Hmm.
some liquid, and heavy whipping
Hmm.
cream that we made into whipped cream and folded it in. And we used
Uh-huh.
sweetened condensed milk. My aunt Janet gave me that recipe, and that's what I started from. So obviously, going to culinary school, learning technical skills, I was like, well,
Yes.
let me figure out how to make a custard. I'm gonna make custard from scratch. So I made a custard from scratch, and I said, okay, this is good, but it doesn't taste like what my aunt Janet was making because everyone loves that. And I'm such a scratch baker. You know what I mean? I'm such a scratch person. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna make this custard, alter it a little bit, and then I put the sweet condensed milk in it. So I still did the same thing. So I wanted to have something that I could still invoke that feeling that my aunt created when she made it instant, but still make it through obviously from
Mhm.
scratch. Because honestly, I can make it both ways for you, instant and from scratch, and you're still going to get the same feeling. You're still going to. So let me go back to the description. We have a custard base, and then we add in some sweetened condensed milk, and then we let that chill. Then we fold that in into homemade whipped cream. Please, I do not use Cool Whip. Nothing wrong with Cool Whip. I just don't use that. And unsweetened whipped cream, fold that in, and then it's the layering process from there. Your cookies, your bananas, your cookies, your bananas. You want to be courageous, so I didn't make it hold it on the wafers. If you want, go ahead and use your classic Nabiscos or switch it up, remix it. I've used Biscoff cookies before. I've used
love that.
the Chessmen from Pepperidge Farm. So it takes on this vanilla custard feeling with these slices of banana. I like to do thin slices of banana for the non-banana eaters who still want to eat my banana pudding. I love to get non-banana likers to eat my banana pudding, and they come to me like, I do not. They go, I hate the texture of banana, but your banana pudding, I would fight for.
And you think that it's the thinness of the slices that become more palatable for them?
Yeah. Yeah. And then that vanilla custard is it's like I said, it's literally tasting really good soft serve ice cream. It's honestly like eating really, really good soft served ice cream.
Oh my gosh. See, like now I have to come to the DMV, and I'm not talking about Department of Motor Vehicles, to try this because good Lord, it sounds so good. Yes, I love a banana pudding. I truly do. It's just it's so, and I know it's a lot of the things that you focus on, classic nostalgic treats, and man alive. Yeah, I love it. And I'm glad you're able to convert banana people, because anything banana I'm into. Even like the weird stuff that people are like, this is the most disgusting thing ever. The banana flavored like candies. I even like that.
Yeah. You do?
I do.
I was about to challenge you and ask you, are you a banana flavored person? So I despise banana flavor. I don't use it at all.
Here's where I will clarify myself, because I don't want to get too crazy with it. So I'm sure you might be familiar, but like a slight little smidge of history. So back before bananas kind of morphed and evolved into how we know and taste them today, the origin of bananas, they actually tasted like the banana extract. So that is kind of the most original taste of what they once were once upon a time. It's key. I know. It was a mind-blowing moment for me when I found this out. And it was so curious too. And so they have made, but what's interesting is these bananas that we have no longer taste like that. So why does the extract still taste like that? A question I can only pose for the different companies out there. But all that to say, they have maintained that flavor for the different candies. Now, I will never use that extract in a baked good, because I find that to be offensive. So in a candy application, I can do it. A circus peanut is that flavor, I can do it. But if you were to make a banana bread and was like, I'm going to elevate this with some of that, I would say, please don't. Don't ruin it. Just keep the regular bananas and leave it alone. Leave it alone. Yeah. So I feel like I did have to clarify that, because I didn't want you to think that I loved it in all things. I would not enjoy it in a banana pudding either. I would not.
Yeah. And I don't eat the ones that's in the stores because of that.
That's what they're doing? Okay.
Yeah, they put the flavor in because they don't have fresh, but bananas will oxidize and stuff like, shorten the shelf life. So they just put the flavorings in it so that you still have that banana flavor.
But it's never the same.
Yeah.
It's never the same. Kareem, how can people follow and support you? Plug away.
Yes. I can be seen dancing at the clubs on Saturday nights in New York City. I'm just playing. I just want to get a laugh and try and down on a good laugh.
I love it. Mission accomplished.
You can follow me on my social, which is Mr. Baked Sweet. The website is the same thing, just .com. So www.mrbakedsweet.com. And then that will send you everything else that you need. So my YouTube page, sign up for my newsletter where you'll get everything straight to your inbox.
Amazing. Mr. Bake, thank you so much for sharing your story and spending some time with me here today.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I had a really, really good time. I haven't done a podcast in a while, so I really do appreciate being a guest today.
Thanks for watching. You can find links and more info in the description below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. See you next time.